Hi, I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation, and the topic that we have is how to deal with an extremely jealous wife. It's a good topic, and I'll tell you why. One of the things that we do at the Marriage Foundation that is so different from what everyone else does is we help individuals realize themselves. And I'm not going to get all spiritual or religious on you, but there's a real missing component in the world right now, and that's an acknowledgement that we are souls, that we have a mind, and that we have a body, and souls cannot be jealous. Soul is infinite bliss. It's joy, it's love, it's wisdom, it's consciousness. There's no place in there for jealousy. And so when we recognize that the jealousy that your wife is experiencing, you have a choice because you have free will. And what you can do is you could recognize that who is suffering much more than you because she's jealous is her. Now, we definitely approach marriage differently. Hopefully you're a subscriber. Please subscribe if you're not, so you can become really enlightened about marriage. Because marriage is wonderful. It's a spiritual path that an individual takes with their soulmate. And there's so much to learn. Now, that's easy to say what I just said. It sounds very philosophical and very lofty that you can be seeing her differently than you are now. But let's go another step. Let's talk about how you're seeing yourself. Because when you say your wife is super jealous, extremely jealous, what you're really saying is, and it's really affecting me. Now, another way of saying it's really affecting you is to say that you are assuming the role of a victim. Somehow, her jealousy is making you really uncomfortable. Now, you could say, well, it is annoying. It is, it interferes with our love, with our relationship. I know that. However, you have free will. You can decide where you're going to put your attention, your focus. Are you jealous? And if you're not, that's great. And so you can then see her more objectively. And here's where it's so good for you. You see, you married her because she's your soulmate. You love her. You knew she had flaws. You knew that everyone has flaws, including you. And in your mind is going, yeah, but. And I'm telling you, those yeah, buts are ridiculous. The reality is that you're supposed to love her unconditionally. That's what marital love is all about. Unconditional love. Unconditional acceptance. Now stay with me here, because this unconditional aspect is what lifts you above the mundane life that you have no choice but to live in the world. You have to make a living. You have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to exercise, you have to do all of these things, but they're all mundane, they're not exactly uplifting. But the love that you have with your wife is very uplifting, and it is different. You cannot find that anywhere else. And yet, you're asking, what do I do about this? It's really bugging the hell out of me. Well, you have free will. If something is bugging the hell out of you, you have the ability, literally the ability, to reject those feelings of being bugged. You know, we have courses for men and for women, and generally, a person who has the complaint that you have doesn't really need the course for men. It wouldn't hurt to read one of my books, that'll help you, but you don't need the course. But in the course, one of the first things we do is we talk about how you have a mind. And we talk about the anatomy of a fight, what's really going on. And we separate, you might say, the soul, which is what you are, from the mind, and show you how to be above it, to master the mind, which is an incredible achievement that they should be teaching all of us from the time we're little kids, but they don't. So you can learn it now in your marriage, because the reason why you want to identify as a soul is because the soul is ever new joy. The soul is ever expanding love. That's why you got married, didn't you? Didn't you get married because you fell in love with your wife? Fell into the state, the consciousness of love. But we don't live our marriages there because no one taught us how. Yet we should. I do. And the thousands of people who have taken our courses, they're learning how to do that. Many have achieved it. And you could see the testimonials. It's incredible what happens to you when you live your life on that higher plane of love. And that's where you're supposed to be with marriage. Now, hopefully this has been useful for you and you could like this video. Hopefully you recognize, yeah, I suppose I should see my wife through eyes of love instead of eyes of criticism. Instead of thinking about how this affects me, think about what's happening to her, so you can employ compassion in how you see her and genuinely care of how much stress she's putting on herself, how difficult it makes her life. You can't get her to change. There is no doing that. We think according to a gazillion habit thoughts, and everyone does. And so you can't just decide, oh, she should get rid of this jealousy. I'm going to tell her that this is not good, and she's going to change. That isn't going to happen. So what you do is you shift your perspective, free will, and you stop seeing it. And when you do see it, you start seeing it as painful for her. And you then become creative in ways to alleviate that pain that she's going through. Maybe you change some of your own behaviors because you know they trigger her. There's a lot of things you can do. Now, if you've been following us for a while, you know, hopefully already, that we're going to put together an amazing course for training people to be TMF counselors. Because our next big step at the Marriage Foundation is going to be to have thousands and thousands of individual, not therapists, but marriage counselors out there who can help people with their little problems, with their bigger problems. And we're going to have this collective mindset that will literally change. I mean, you must realize how different we are from traditional marriage counseling and how they see things. We're all about experiencing love and joy, which is what marriage is meant to be. If you're a therapist, for instance, or a clergy who helps people with their marriages, you may want to find out more. Write to us and let us know you have an interest. And if you're not, if you want to just start out, you don't need a background in psychology. In fact, that would hurt you, because there's a lot that those who have been practicing psychotherapy have to unlearn. And other than that, again, I'm Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation. We've been doing this for over 20 years, and I invite you to visit again. So God bless you, thank you, and take care.